Welcome back to my channel, guys. Last night I went out to dinner with a gay friend and we talked about this subject, and I thought it would make for an interesting video on my channel. This friend was telling me about how he's dating a guy who would prefer for my friend, to be more submissive in the relationship, in and out of the bedroom. The boyfriend is more sort of traditional in that he wants kind of like this black and white dynamic where he's the more masculine and domineering figure in the relationship. And my friend was telling me that although he does enjoy that sometimes, he knows that he carries this like masculinity complex from childhood that's so ingrained in him where he can't get over that hurdle of compromising, let's say, his masculinity for the sake of pleasing his partner. And he's aware that that comes from being indoctrinated his whole life with this idea of like, I have to be masculine and as masculine as possible. Otherwise, I'm less attractive, less valuable as a man. And so it was interesting to talk about this because I knew what he meant. I knew what he was talking about. And he knew what he was talking about. There was a level of self-awareness where he knows where it comes from. He knows that it's creating a hurdle in his relationship with the guy he's dating, with his boyfriend. It got me thinking about how so many of us as gay men do have the masculinity thing as an Achilles heel, because again, it's been ingrained in us our whole lives that our sexuality as gay men ought to not interfere with our duty to be men. And of course, this is also a cultural thing. Certain cultures, this is way more prevalent. For example, the stereotype in the Middle East is that everybody's a top because there's this pressure that it's bad enough to be gay, so you better be the more dominant type of gay guy. So I was telling my friend last night about how over the years, I've definitely noticed a shift on apps, grindr type apps in particular, the hookup apps. And I'm curious if you guys have noticed this too. I've noticed way more guys, just like my friend's boyfriend, who will say exclusively looking for femme guys, only into femme, only into trans, right? Only into basically the stereotype of what it means to be gay that so many of us were taught not to be. So it's this weird, warped reality where like I've had guys reject me because I'm too masculine, which is funny to me because I don't think of myself as a masculine guy. So how ironic that I would have spent so much of my childhood, and I think adulthood even subconsciously, trying to present as masculine as possible, all to find out that you're gonna get rejected anyway. You're gonna get rejected by somebody else for being too masculine and not what they're looking for. So my friend and I were talking about how confusing it is and how frustrating and jolting it is as a gay person to constantly feel like you have to code switch and adapt. I'm realizing now as a gay person, like I spent so much of my youth pretending or having to be something else just to find out that now at this age in my 30s, that is not even attractive to some of the guys that I might be into. The other day, somebody left a comment, and I'm going to assume it's a troll, on one of my oldest videos, and they were saying, you clearly get ghosted because your voice and your mannerisms are a turnoff, which was like pretty brutal. And I watched a little bit of the video and I was like, wow, I used to sound more effeminate. And I didn't realize it. I don't know if it's a subconscious evolution over time to like mask that, no pun intended, mask that, or it's just a natural evolution of you get older and your voice changes, your behavior changes and you become less boyish, less juvenile. You become more of a man. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know how much is nature versus nurture. But it is a really interesting conversation, right? The masculinity thing is such a big topic. I feel like it's not as big of a deal as it used to be a decade ago. And I'm sure older men watching this video will confirm that it used to be a bigger issue, maintaining that macho thing as a gay person, than it is now. What it also shows you is how fickle our society is, that what's considered beautiful or valuable in a person one day, or attractive one day, suddenly changes to something else, and even the opposite oftentimes. And that's more than just sexuality, right? Or masculinity. It's also race and ethnicity and body size. It just shows you how inconsistent we are as a society, that all these things are actually trends. Some of you guys know I went to Europe this summer for most of the summer, and going to museums and seeing Picasso pieces and Van Gogh pieces and Goya pieces and so on, it was something I thought about quite a bit, how many of these artists are celebrated so much more now post-death. In some cases, over a century later, their works are considered priceless, and yet some of these artists, some of them were successful during their lifetime. Picasso was successful, but it's a different level now after his death. Or like a Van Gogh, who only sold one piece during his lifetime and went through a period of homelessness and had all these mental health issues, and who during his lifetime was often criticized and not taken seriously. To think that his work is now, priceless. It's up. He has museums devoted to him. Again, it shows you how fake our society is, how there's no real concrete measure of a person or what their value is. Ultimately, as cheesy as it sounds, you realize that the best sort of strategy, the lesson, is to be yourself, because no matter what you do, no matter what you say, some camp is going to be turned off by you. Some group, some individuals will never like you no matter what. So you might as well just do what feels right to you in terms of how you carry yourself, how you interact with people, how you choose to live your life, because it's so draining to devote energy to constantly adapting for other people's enjoyment, like to people please. I hope this resonates. I hope it makes sense. As always, let me know in the comments what you think.